Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down. I know, we can't start talking movies until we address the elephant and or furniture that is now in the Seaman Cave. That's right, we got a new rockin' recliner. Technically not new to the room. My parents got new furniture, so I got hand-me-downs. But this is my favorite rocking recliner of all time. Yes, it's beat up. Yes, it's old, but it's broken in perfectly. Like, if I were to just lean back like this, maybe grab my my Superman blanket, pull it up over here, I might be asleep in a few seconds. Or, if I'm watching a scary movie, I can... It's a great blanket to kind of pull up and hide behind, and I actually did that the other night in this recliner with this blanket during the movie we're getting ready to talk about right now. So why don't you pull up a chair, man? Take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free into Relic. And, oh, man, I tell you, what a freaking great movie this is. And shout out to Perry Nemiroff from Collider. I wouldn't have known about this movie or caught it had I not caught her tweet the other day. Big fan of hers. She's also a big horror movie fan. I agree with a lot of things she says about horror movies. So when she says something like, Relic is bound to be the best horror movie of 2020, my ears, eyes, whatever you want to say, perked up immediately, and I was like, I need to go watch this. And she nailed it. Man, this is not just the best horror movie of the year, though. I would even dare to say it's just one of the best movies of the year. First time feature filmmaker, Natalie Erica James. She's done some shorts. This is her first feature, writing and directing. Wow. Wow. It's all I can say is wow. For a first-time feature film, she doesn't knock it out of the park. She knocks this thing out of the stratosphere, and it's so much more evident when you watch a movie that's similar. I hate comparing movies, but when you watch two movies that are kind of similar this close, it's hard not to. I just watched You Should Have Left with Kevin Bacon, and that movie does a lot of similar things here. Relic is a movie about a family. You got a grandmother who is battling with dementia, which is one of the main themes of the movie, and the way Natalie Erica James works that and weaves that into the story and into the filmmaking and the scary genius stuff, dude. Like, genius level writing. It's crazy good. But anyway, Grandma is missing at the beginning of the movie, so daughter and granddaughter come. Kay and Sam, played by Emily Mortimer, Bella Heathcote. They come to try to see if Edna is okay, who's played by Robin Nevin. And she's missing, and then she just kind of shows back up. And the minute she shows up is when this movie takes off. Now, the beginning, I like the beginning of the movie. I think it sets everything up really well, gives you a good establishment of, Kay and Sam and their feelings toward Edna and what's going on with Edna. But once Edna kind of shows up, you start kind of getting into the realm of haunted house, subtle ghost story. And that's what You Should Have Left also plays with. And both kind of use the house as a character. And with You Should Have Left, I liked what they were doing from that subtle standpoint. Something moves in the background, or you hear a noise, or it's stuff that gets under your skin. The third act of that movie, unfortunately, kind of falls apart because it didn't quite know how to wrap things up in a way that was satisfying. But it's even worse when you have it right next to a movie like Relic, which plays with all those same things, man. This is not the movie that's going to make you jump out of your seat. I can count on recollection one legitimate jump scare, and it's a totally planned jump scare, and it is an executed to perfection jump scare. Because Natalie Erica James works the subtle horror stuff to perfection. The idea of something moving behind you, or a door in the far corner of the screen just opening a little bit. She plays with those things in ways where, like, I was like, ooh, that's good, and You Should Have Left. And here I was like, oh man, what was that behind the door? And it does a good job of restraining and holding itself back. So you are constantly on edge because you don't know what's happening or why it's happening. You're getting clues throughout the entire movie, but this really does a great job of pulling that slow burn of a film and pulling the tension of that, that subtle scare, like, did that shadow move? And, when you lock in on that, it allows you to pop a jump scare here and there, and she does it really, really well. And she does it sparingly, which I really appreciated. It made it more worthwhile. It made it, like, it draws out some of those things, so you really do pull the blanket up. But it's the writing that I think really elevates all this stuff, from the thematical elements that she's talking about in the movie, how she deals with those and weaves them into a horror movie, and then knocks them out of the park by the end, where you're sitting there going, wow, like that, wow, dude, like that's what you were doing this whole movie. It's not a Sixth Sense like twist per se. It's not even a twist per se, but it is as rewarding and satisfying as the end of a Sixth Sense. Like when it might take a minute, because this movie is doing one thing and it's doing it really well all the way up to that peak, and then right when you get to the crescendo, it does something a little bit different where you're like, wait, what now? What is happening? Oh, what's going on? And when it finally clicks in as to what is going on, your jaw is going to be on the floor, because it's brilliant. I was so impressed with this movie from a just craftsmanship standpoint. The filmmaking is wonderful. The camera work is wonderful. The usage of score or not usage of score. The way James is able to highlight things with some score to pull attention and highlight or accentuate things in a different way with no score. Masterful work, dude. And all of it just gets you to the point where you can barely take it anymore. And then it just gives you such a satisfying conclusion that you're just like, this movie was genius. And when you take that level of filmmaking and add in 3 really, really, really good performances, you have an absolute slam dunk film. As I mentioned, Emily Mortimer, Robin Nevin, Bella Heathcote are amazing in this movie. Now, there are a bunch of other people who come in, but those are the only 3 that matter. Robin Nevin just crushes everything with Edna. The way she can swing mood-wise to, like, you know, walking in out of nowhere and, like, everyone's like, you've been gone for 3 days. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. To, like, just pure excitement or elation seeing her daughter or granddaughter, and how that excitement can flip on its head if she notices something about one of the 2 of them or wasn't expecting something, or they're doing something, you're like, get away, this isn't your house. Like, she plays the role of a dementia patient perfectly, dude. She nails it. It's heartbreaking at times, and then it's also really, really terrifying at times. The second act of this movie is terrifying, and a lot of it has to do with Robin Nevin. And if you're dealing with her in the second act, you're probably dealing with Emily Mortimer's Kay as well. The relationship between the 2 of them is really, really good. I love their on-screen chemistry, and that story of that mother and daughter, you know, going through this type of stuff in this horror kind of scary movie. Like, Emily Mortimer just crushes those things. You know, the concept of, like, what do you do with a woman who's struggling this bad? How do you really feel? Like, how does your love for your mother kind of play into maybe some of the, you know, rational or logical thinking you're trying to come up with? And Emily Mortimer crushes all of that. Then you got Bella Heathcote, who is great. I like the scenes that she has with Edna are wonderful. Scenes she has with her mom, and how that relationship differs from Kay and Edna's relationship, works really well. But Bella Heathcote shines mostly in that second act. When, you know, Kay and Edna are kind of dealing with things more right head to head, Sam gets kind of lost to a degree in the house. The house is also a character, and the way they utilize the house and getting lost in the house and how the house can change or mess with you, excellent stuff. And during that stretch, a lot of those things are happening to Sam's character, and Bella Heathcote, man, just nails, like, from a facial standpoint to an emotional standpoint to just what she's doing in that acting, you know, when she's trying to convey, like, fear and frustration and exhaustion and aggravation and, like, what the F is going on. She crushes that to the point where you are feeling everything she's feeling. And that's really the point of the movie where I was most on edge, because the movie is ramping up at that point in time and it's starting to drop clues, and you're like, oh man, like, what is, so good. And those performances just elevate all of that. So by the end of the day, you have an absolute knockout film with Relic, in my opinion. Now, like I said, I think this might be one of the best films of the year, and it's it's everything, but the writing is so genius. It just elevates everything else that Natalie Erica James and, you know, these 3, you know, actors are doing in this movie. It's so good. I urge you, if you haven't checked out Relic, if you're a horror fan, this is a must-see. If you aren't a horror fan, but you can deal with, like, that on edge kind of thriller horror, like, where you're not necessarily jumping, but you're unsure, this is a must-watch movie, I'm telling you. But We know what I'm thinking. I want to know what you're thinking, man. If you have watched Relic, what'd you think? Good, bad? How'd you think it executed some of the elements of the, subtle horror genre? What'd you think of the storytelling, of the craftsmanship? Where did this movie land for you? Just in general, good or bad, that goes down below. If you haven't seen the movie, has the old Seaman enticed you? I really hope I did, man, because like I said, this I think is just one of those special films of 2020. So anything you're thinking, go down below in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're new, you want to come hang out, maybe show a little love to the Seaman if you haven't yet, jump over there, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell that follows for alerts. Until next time, I've got some videos coming out I did before I got the recliner, so if you see those, it didn't go anywhere. It's still here. They just were shot before I got it all set up down here. I want to talk about this movie first. So anyway, for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down and the new recliner, I, of course, am the Seaman. I am signing off. Peace! Well, I'll be. You guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. Seaman's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the Seaman goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.